So far we have discussed about problems. Now, do you think everybody can understand a problem equally well? Let's look at a doctor. Okay, let's look at two doctors, Dr. A and Dr. B. And you walk up to both the doctors. Both have equally good academic qualifications, they have same years of experience, and they, on paper, they look equally well. And Dr. A you walk up to, and Dr. A says, okay, tell me your problem. And you start telling your problem, which is I'm having a headache, stomach ache, not able to sleep at night, feeling drowsy, etc. And while you are telling all of these things, the doctor is not looking at you, but the doctor is looking at a paper, which is your prescription sheet. And without looking at you, the doctor is scribbling notes. And even before you are finished talking, he says that, okay, I understood your problem. Take this slip and go home, take these medicines, and you'll be fine. Don't worry. Look at the slip, you look at the doctor, and you trust the doctor, and you take the medicines, and after 2-3 days, you are perfectly okay. That's your Dr. A. Let's look at Dr. B. Dr. B has the same academic qualifications, everything is same, and he asks you the same question, what is your problem? And you pretty much give the same answer. But now instead of looking at the paper, he looks at you, and he shows interest in you. And then he asks you further, that okay, for how long you have had this problem? Do you have family history? He runs through a few diagnoses, and he assures you that don't worry, nothing is wrong with you, you've just been overworked. Go home, take some rest, eat some light food, and after 2 days, you'll be fine. And if you don't get fine, see me. So you have two doctors, Dr. A and Dr. B. Dr. A doesn't listen to you, gives you medicine, and you're fine. Dr. B listens to you, does not give you medicine, you are fine. Which doctor are you more likely to visit again? A or B? I bet you will go with Dr. B. And the reason you will go with Dr. B is not because whether Dr. A gave you the medicine or not. You go with Dr. B is because he paid attention to you. He listens to you. Now, how many times in your life do you behave like Dr. A? And how many times do you behave like Dr. B? What happens to us in a fast-paced life is that we generally behave like Dr. A. We have no time to listen to people. We are so much busy in our own solutioning, in our own writing, that we never look at people eye to eye. And in the world of social media, people would rather send text messages to each other than talk to each other as a human-to-human connect. And that is where I think empathy and emotional intelligence is taking a backseat. And unless and until you are genuinely empathetic towards people, you can never ever understand the problem. Because please understand that it is not typically a problem that you're trying to solve. You're also trying to solve a behavior associated with the problem. Am I right? For example, when we talk about traffic, people jumping signals, people not wearing seat belts, people not wearing helmet, people not coming up to vote. Do you think these are technical problems? No, they are not technical problems. They are behavioral problems. And to understand behavioral problems, you have to understand people's behavior, people's innate motivations, their innate drive. What motivates them? And unless we understand that, believe me, you will never be able to solve the problem, let alone implement the solution. Okay? So now let's understand what is emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is a very recent phenomena. The word emotional intelligence has come into the literature or the popular discussion only the last 100 years or so. Because traditionally, intelligence essentially meant cognitive intelligence, which is intellectualism. Okay, and for the longest time, our entire education system has been forcing us to be intelligent in only one dimension, which is sciences, mathematics, broadly speaking, logic. And what have you learned in your life? Do you think you can solve all the problems logically? Do you think you can convince your mother to eat breakfast on time logically? No. You cannot convince people. And as you grow, you would realize that there are a lot of people who cannot understand logic. Nothing wrong with the people, but they can understand emotions. Because we are not Homo economicus, we are Homo sapiens. We are not calculating beings, we are emotional beings. And to be a good problem solver or to understand the problem well, you need to understand emotions, your own emotion and the emotions of people around you, and only then you develop empathy. So now we talk about emotional intelligence and the power of empathy. Now, one of the tallest figures in the world of emotional intelligence is Harvard Business School's professor Daniel Goleman. Now, Daniel Goleman has been researching on the space of emotional intelligence for many decades now. And he says that there are 4 levels of emotional intelligence. Now, I would like you to start thinking about what level are you in terms of emotional intelligence. And I bet you that you would have come across people in your life, including relatives, who would be at a higher level of emotional intelligence than the people who are not. And you would also realize something interesting, that academic excellence has nothing to do with emotional intelligence. Nothing to do. I have seen so many of my college mates, my schoolmates, my batchmates who were really top in terms of academic scores. But when it came to real life, they were really, really miserable. They had very disturbed family lives. They could not maintain good relationships. They struggled on their job and they could not amount to anything significant. Academically, very well in 10th standard and 12th standard, but thereafter they had a downhill trend because they put all their faculties into developing only one type of intelligence, which is cognitive intelligence, or what we call as intellect, the raw intellect. And in the world of technology, when computers have become so powerful, what is the point? What is the point of knowing the capital of a country and the currency of the country and knowing the language, the spellings or numbers, or pi to the 10th decimal point? There's no point. You can iterate the table of 99 or the table of 72, but that is not required. In man-to-man relationship and human-to-human relationships, you don't need tables, you don't need formulas, you need emotions. And the more time you spend in the real world, outside your books, outside your education, formal education, your college and school, you realize the importance of these things. And I believe that emotional intelligence is the single biggest determinant of your success and happiness in life. Okay, so let's delve deeper into what is emotional intelligence. So at the very basic level, emotional intelligence comprises of self-awareness. Know yourself. Now, you should always be in a position to understand your emotional makeup. There is nothing wrong in being angry. There is nothing wrong in being sad or upset or depressed, except that you should know. The first step is to know that I am sad, to know that I am angry, to know that I am upset. People get angry for reason or without any reason, but people get angry. But many times they don't even know that they're angry. Right? Somebody else has to tell them that, hey, why are you behaving like this? Why are you angry? Why are you sad? Why are you depressed? Okay, what happened to you? What's wrong with you? So if you can understand what is wrong with you, that's the first step. Okay? Because only when you're acknowledging that, yes, I am sad. There are days when I'm sad. There are days that I'm upset. There are days when I'm angry. Or I wouldn't say days, but there are moments in which I'm angry. There are moments in which I'm very elated and jovial. Am I aware of it? I try to be aware of it. Does it make sense to you? Okay. So the first thing is to be self-aware. Know yourself. And I think the greatest victory in the world is to know yourself. If you can know you, if you can know your drivers, your motivators, then I think you can really, really command the world around you. Make sense to you? Okay. So the first level is called as self-awareness, which is low self. The second is about self-management. Now, self-awareness means I am angry, or I am agitated, or I am annoyed, or I am irritated. Okay. Self-management means how to address it. Do I want to be like that only? Do I want to continue being agitated or angry? And there are people who might just get angry for no reason whatsoever. And very soon, everybody around them will start feeling angry. Have you seen that? Everybody around them will start feeling nervous. Because anger, nervousness, negativity, depression, they are very contagious. They spread very quickly. Like yawning is contagious. Even laughing is contagious, by the way. But even more contagious than laughing could be some of these angry moments, because suddenly you bring that devil from inside of the person, and then he also says that, hey, why are you looking at me like that? What's wrong with you? So self-awareness is about knowing that you are angry. Self-management is to do something about it. Now, what do you do about it? Okay. In certain cases, you can sit calm, meditate, and just sit quietly. Do nothing. Because what happens is that when you're angry, whatever you do, any activity, you will most probably spoil it, including driving a car. Suppose you're angry and you drive a car, what would happen? Your chances of meeting an accident would go up. You would not only hurt yourself, you will also hurt people around you. Am I right? If you're angry and you're typing an email, what would happen? You might most likely write things or say things which you will later on regret, which were completely unwarranted. If you're angry and you called somebody on phone, most likely you will make the other person also angry. So self-management would mean that what action can I take to get myself out of it? It might range from sitting quiet, doing nothing, taking a deep breath, all the way to seeking help and counseling. Many people, okay, there are hundreds and thousands of people who are feeling depressed. But how many of them really go up to a psychiatrist? Even if that counseling is free, how many people really go there? Not many people go there. And the reason many people don't go there is not because they are not aware that such thing exists. They are not aware that they are depressed. That's the problem. They are not willing to accept that they are depressed. They think being depressed is a taboo. Being depressed is a stigma. No, being depressed is a state. Like being hungry is a state, being depressed is also a state. Do you feel hungry? Yes. What do you do in that case? You take food. So you quench your hunger by taking food. Am I right? Similarly, when you're feeling depressed, what should you do? Instead of denying that how can I feel depressed or how can I feel angry or hungry, you address that. That is self-management. So I guess you are through so far. Self-awareness, self-management. Make sense? Third comes empathy. Now, so far I've been talking about self. I'm aware of my mental makeup. I'm aware of my need, and I'm also aware and sensitive enough on how to handle my emotions effectively. Okay, what do I do with my own emotions? Do I observe my emotions? In fact, a very good technique which I advocate is just be an observer of yourself. Can you observe you from just about 5 feet above you? Imagine I'm sitting here and there is a camera above me. What if I can see myself in that camera? What will I see? If I'm angry, agitated, the moment I see myself in the camera, I can start dissociating myself from my emotions. Instead of my emotions getting the better of me, I'm able to now control the emotion. It's like a beast. Just control the emotion. It's okay. Everything is all right. Because what life has taught me, and most probably what life has taught you, is that this too shall pass. The best thing that can happen to you will also pass. The worst thing that can happen to you will also pass. In the middle of the pandemic, everybody was totally terrified that will it ever get over? Will I ever see my relatives? Will I ever see my friends? Will I ever step out of my home? Will things be normal? Will I ever get my mask out? Will I survive? What happened? Couple of months down? Voila, we are all out. Make sense? So good, bad, everything is momentary. Okay? Now what is empathy? Empathy means that the way I understand my own emotions so well, can I understand other people's emotions also? But don't you think that before you attempt to understand somebody else's emotions, you should be in control of your own emotions? Am I right? If you're so preoccupied with your own world, that why me, why this is happening to me, how can I be like this, how can I shout at my daughter, how can I say this to my dad, how can I behave like this with my friend? If I'm so occupied all the time about me, where do I have the mental recess, the mental faculty to think about somebody else? Because tell me one thing, who is the person you talk to the most in a day? You. Aren't you talking to yourself the most in a day? There is nobody else whom you talk as much as you talk to yourself. Am I right? Self-talk. Self-talk is the most common talk. Once you take a pause on that self-talk, only then I can think about the other guy. Oh my God, he's also angry. Maybe he's angry because of me. Maybe I can do something about that. Okay? So self-awareness, self-management, empathy. So empathy is about behaving, acting according to the mental makeup of the other person. Make sense to you? Always remember that whenever other person is talking to you, whichever way the other person is behaving with you, he or she is behaving exactly as per their emotional state. Nothing good, bad, ugly about it. Their emotional state, and you have your own emotional state. Now imagine I talk to a 5-year-old child. Now, will it be the right thing for me to expect the 5-year-old child to behave like an adult? No, of course not. Because a 5-year-old child is behaving exactly as per the mind of the 5-year-old. If the mind is developed this much, then the behavior is also developed this much. But often what happens is, even when people grow up, they don't grow emotionally. So should I blame them that why are you acting like this? Or should I understand them? I'm not even saying do something about it. Just the first step is the way you understand yourself. Do you understand others? Instead of blaming them, instead of calling them out, hey, why are you behaving like this? Understand that maybe there is something in his or her past, maybe something in her upbringing, maybe something in the local environment, maybe something that happened just 2 minutes back. That's the reason why the person is behaving like this. And that is called empathy. And finally, skilled relationship. Skilled relationship means that now that I understand myself, now that I understand the other person, what do I do to have a good relationship with that other person? Because I believe one thing, and I'll speak in Hindi and maybe translate that in English. I believe इंसान जिंदगी में सिर्फ बंदे कमाता है, right? इंसान जिंदगी में सिर्फ बंदे कमाता है. बंदे means people. You earn people in your life. Nothing else you earn in your life. Believe me. Now, at the age of 20, this might sound very utopian to you, but it is not utopian. When you will turn 50, when you will turn 60, you would have done and dusted most of the things in your life. Most of the ambitions of your life, you would have either met those ambitions or you would have revisited those ambitions, that they may not be worth it. But what do you carry in your life? You carry relationships in your life. You carry people. You carry trust in your life. And what will you do with your academic score? What is the point of being a highly paid CEO when your children don't love you? When your wife doesn't spend time with you? When your parents don't bother about you? You don't bother about your parents? What's the point? And I bet you that even if you become the most successful person in the world by compromising your relationships, don't you think that you need somebody to share this success with? Don't you think that you need somebody to share that love with? Don't you think you need some correspondence, some validation that yes, you have done something in your life? So don't be successful in only one dimension. Unfortunately, what has happened to us is that our academics have beaten us into thinking that academic excellence will settle everything else. If you're academically good, nothing matters. All the relationships can be looked at later point of time. Your behavior can be looked at later point of time. Everything will be okay. If you have money, everything else will take care of it. I don't think so. If that was true, then the richest people would have been the happiest people. Yes? And you know that is not true. If that was true, the toppers of the class would have become very, very successful leaders. Again, that is not true. So you are at that stage of your life where unless and until you develop yourself holistically, you will always remain underdeveloped. Okay? So just to wrap it up, the first is self-awareness. To know that I am angry, to know that I am sad. Nothing wrong in being angry or sad. Just know it. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. You're a human being. You ought to have all the emotions. I would rather be worried if you don't have the range of emotions from anger, depression, sadness, anxiety, happiness, elation, joyfulness, okay, enthusiasm. The entire range should be available to you. Self-management. Now what do I do? Do I sit down? Do I talk to a friend? Do I watch a movie to get me out of that state of mind? Do I seek active counseling? Do I look at a psychiatrist? Okay. Empathy. Now that I know who I am, why am I behaving like this? Now can I talk about the other guy? Can I understand where he or she is coming from? And finally, skilled relationship. I know you, I know myself. How do I make a relationship? And I have always seen that the people who are very good at relationship are always talking in a manner that suits the other person, not that suits you. You can't say that I am like that only. So what? That is not a statement of pride. That's a statement of weakness on the other hand. You're not like that only. You have to be nuanced. How to talk to your parents, how to talk to your mom, your dad, your spouse, your friends, your children, your teacher, your relatives. How to talk to your boss, how to talk to your colleague. That relationship, each relationship is unique. And you cannot make the relationship unless you are emotionally intelligent. Okay? So emotional intelligence is very, very critical from problem solving perspective. Only when you understand the other person's emotions, then only the person will open up to you and tell you the real issues. Now, in the next piece, we talk about what are the different types of empathy and how do you develop empathy. I hope this was useful. Thank you.